common mistakes that I see beginners make when they first learn the snatch is using far too much upper body and finding it very challenging to utilize the legs in the first phase of the lift. Now, I'm going to show you where I've identified that. So you'll notice as she's lifted the bar up, there is no contact between the body and the bar other than her hands through the pulling phase. Now, this is very common whether you're a male or a female. You'll attempt to utilize a body to get the bar up overhead. However, to perform good technique in the snatch, we need to be utilizing the legs. If not, I see commonly what happens with people is they get to the point in which for a female will be around 30, 40 kilos in which they could muscle up or use rough body strength to get the bar to overhead. And commonly for males around 70 to 80 kilos. So it normally taps out just below body weight in terms of what people can get to. And without utilizing the legs, you're relying solely on that upper body strength. It's always going to make it challenging for you to reach your true potential. Second common mistake that I'll see is people will resort to power snatching instead of full snatching. So when we're talking about power snatch, we're talking about her catching the bar above 90-degree height or almost with straight legs. Now, some of the things that can minimize people's ability to be able to catch deep in the bottom position is developing good range of motion, stability, and strength in the receiving position. Now, when we talk about the receiving position, we're talking about the position where you're sat deep in the bottom position of the snatch, hips below 90 degrees with arms overhead in a nice solid position. Now, it's extremely important in your first learning process of starting to master how to do the snatch that you overcome that first of all. Utilizing exercises like the overhead squat and the snatch balance would be one of the best ways to do that. But I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit more detail in a moment. Third thing that I want to talk about is just foundations of setup position. So if you struggle to find an efficient setup position when you're learning how to do snatch, it makes everything else more challenging. It makes it difficult to find a good solid lockout overhead. It also makes it difficult for you to utilize the legs, as I mentioned, being crucial in the extension phase of the lift. Let's break this down a little bit further. When we're thinking about setup position, some of the things that I identified in this initial video that we analyzed for Hannah was that her feet were too wide. So you'll see how her feet are sitting outside her shoulder width at the start. When the feet are too wide, this can make it challenging for you to let the hips sit down in your set position because you'll naturally load more in the hips and in the glutes. So by very slightly narrowing the feet in the setup position so they're sitting more underneath shoulder width, will allow the hips to sit a little bit lower and us to utilize the legs. Now you'll notice Hannah's also using a 20 kg bar here. It makes it very difficult if you've got small hands to be able to use a hook grip when we're in the setup position for the snatch. If you don't know what a hook grip is, we're talking about thumb being around the bar before the fingers come over the top. This is crucial to executing good technique in the snatch. So that's equally going to make it challenging for her. You'll see then in the first phase of the lift, she's using a lot of the back. And at the point when the bar reaches knee height, we've got the legs being very straight at this point. She's still on flat feet, but now she's attempting to extend the legs, which she does well. But by this point, the weight has already gone past hip height. The arms have started to bend as we're seeing here. And then she's relying purely on the momentum that she's generated in the first phase to get the bar up. Now, I want to stress the importance that this is such a common problem that I see when people first start to learn the snatch. And it commonly comes from the learning process, people watching videos of people snatching and then trying to replicate it. But there is a clear step-by-step process that you can follow along, which is exactly what we utilize in the lifting zone to break down what is probably one of the most complex movements that you can learn into the gym to make it a hell of a lot more easier to achieve. That was Hannah before. So you'll see now in terms of the differences that we've changed to a start position, you'll see that before where our hips were really, really high up above knee height in the set position, we're now seeing the hips kind of in line with the knees. Here, the feet have now narrowed in her set position. And from the point where she is initiating, you'll see where she uses now the legs in the first phase. So by the time the bar has reached knee height, instead of the legs being super straight at this point, we've got great knee bend happening here, which is crucial, okay? So that's a good indication that we're keeping the legs loaded at this point. You'll see how her shoulders are sitting directly above the bar now, whereas from this video that we were looking at earlier, they were sitting probably a little bit in front of the bar, okay? And now as she's transitioning through this middle phase of the lift, you'll see that she's keeping the bar close to the body. And this is the key point I wanted to get at here for those of you guys that are watching this. If you want to be able to reach your true potential with Snatch, you need to learn how to utilize the legs. Now, some of the key exercises we've got Hannah to do to improve this position. If you're struggling with it, I'd strongly suggest you start doing this now too in your programming, is we regress the movement to work purely on the Snatch dead pull. Now, the Snatch dead pull is referring to Hannah being able to stand up from start position to waist height, i.e. this position, while still maintaining contact with the body. And slowing down the movement to build familiarity with feeling the bar gliding through this middle phase of lift up the thigh and staying close to center of gravity makes it much easier for her to think about utilizing the legs. Now, the next exercise that we started to implement, particularly for Hannah, so that during the turnover, she wasn't utilizing too much of her body, was an exercise called snatch jumps. Now, again, this is an exercise I'll commonly program for new athletes that come into the lifting zone that are struggling with this, to build the familiarity of letting the legs do the work before anything happens with the upper body. You can see here from this video, like before when she was doing this, although the legs extended, all the weight was in the upper body. It's crucial that the legs do the work first before the upper body comes into play. And as a result of that, you'll see now as she's coming into extension, the legs are extending close to the point in which the bar is still in contact with the body. Now, if I progress through now into the snatch, you'll see during the extension point here, the bar is still in contact with the body now. So that was quite a crucial change that we made, particularly for Hannah. And just to give you guys context, when she first started with us, she was snatching 30 kg. She's now snatching 45 to 50 kg quite comfortably, okay? So a big improvement. It just goes to show what is really possible if you start building a good foundation of the technique. So you'll see now during the transition, the turn of the bar is staying much closer to the body. You'll also see now, instead of her trying to catch the bar above 90 degrees, almost with straight legs, she's now built the confidence to be able to sit deep in the bottom position on the snatch. Now, some of the key things that we've had to focus on, particularly to help her improve this bottom position, is mobility. Specifically focusing on ankle dorsiflexion, hip internal and external rotation for her to be able to sit deep in the bottom position whilst maintaining good thoracic extension. As a result of improving mobility alongside specific exercises like the overhead squat and the snatch balance to build stability and strength through it, she's now unlocked the ability to sit deep in the bottom position. And again, this will vary so much person to person, going from catching almost with straight legs here to going now just below 90 degrees in the snatch. Absolutely incredible. The reason why this becomes so beneficial, particularly when you're trying to master the snatch, is because as a result of having good mobility, you no longer need to pull the bar so high in order to get in a locked out position overhead. So it massively improves efficiency if you're spending and dedicating time specifically into improving your mobility alongside your Olympic weightlifting. If you've thought this is something that would be beneficial for you, then what I want you to do is hit a link below this video. It's gonna give you the opportunity to actually book in a call with me where we can have a look at your lifting, understand what your problems are, and find the best solution for you for starting moving forward.